And a very, very warm welcome to you. We hope you and your loved ones are very well and can stay safe. And I want to extend a particular greetings to our friends in Japan, Kumbawa, and Korea, Annyeonghaseyo, because you guys have stayed really late to be with us today. And also I want to send warm greetings to our friends in the Americas. Hi, saludos, or bom dia, hola to you all. Thanks for waking up so early today. Yeah, we are very humbled and we are so grateful, and we're going to make it worth your while. That's what we dearly want. We will see in just 2 minutes why this is the time for all of us, managers, coaches, professionals in human resources, to take our coaching skills to the next level. It's a challenge because it's not easy to coach people who are deeply disturbed in a crisis. So we've prepared lots of easy tips, practical things to do, live demo, some videos, and lots of downloadables. In fact, all the way to the last minute of our 90 minutes together. Yeah, that's 90 minutes together. Can you believe that? Well, we're up for it, and surely we hope you are too. We've also integrated answers to some of the questions that you asked us when you registered. Now, let's start with the big picture. And the big picture is, of course, that we are in an unprecedented crisis. There are clear and present dangers to our well-being, our relationships, perhaps to our loved ones, maybe also to our job, our business, or our livelihood. And there are changes and opportunities behind the dangers. After all, any crisis comes with changes and opportunities, as our Chinese friends figured out like thousands of years ago. Flashback a couple of decades ago with Bill Gates, who was saying, in the 21st century, leaders will be those who empower others. Well, now leaders are in a situation where many of their people are working remotely, and directive leadership certainly cannot work if it ever did. One could say the coronavirus has just made empowerment in management a must. Not a flashback, just 1 year ago with Klaus Schwab, who is the founder and executive director of the World Economic Forum, who meets yearly in Davos, as you know, right? He was talking about the fourth industrial revolution. And he said that we need leaders who are emotionally intelligent and able to model and champion cooperative working. They will coach rather than command. They'll be driven by empathy, not ego. The digital revolution, he said, needs a different, more human kind of leadership. Certainly we can say too that the coronavirus has just kind of completed the digital revolution within a few weeks. And it's funny in a way. I was yesterday on the call with a client in the banking industry, and he was telling me it took 3 to 4 years to our IT department to enable 80 of our senior leaders to to work remotely from the office, right? And it took them 3 weeks to connect the 800 other managers. So the crisis is a change accelerator, and as leaders and coaches, we can't complain about it, we can't be negative, we can't drop our responsibility. We've got to do our job, we've got to coach, we've got to lead, we've got to be reasonably optimistic, and certainly we've got to embrace change. And to lead and coach in crisis, of course, we need to establish clarity, unleash the best possible individual and collective thinking, and then find a sense of direction, work out the way ahead, and act decisively. That's exactly what coaching does. So to lead and coach well, we must not forget that we need, first of all, a clear mind and resilience. And I'm going to spend 2-3 minutes with you about just that. Getting a clear mind as a leader or a coach and building up resilience. And that's not easy in a crisis. Here's a funny metaphor. about the first thing we need to do in a crisis as coaches and managers. And it was sent to me through Facebook by my brother-in-law just a few days ago. It's about that garden of yours and ours before lockdown and our garden after lockdown. Now, most of us, I guess, have an opportunity to clear their mind, right? And organize their thinking. And that's what we coaches go for, or we coaching leaders do in coaching conversations, right? And of course, in contrast, our mind currently may more be all confused and polluted by lots of concerns and fears and thousands of half-baked ideas. A mind that cannot think effectively. Now, let's focus on you now, and let's check in together. How about your concerns at the moment? What's in your mind as a concern, right? So you can see a list on the left-hand side, and we're going to have a poll where I invite you in just a few seconds to share what's top of mind. Of course, the poll is anonymous, and we're going to look at the results. I think, Fabien, probably you can look at the percentages when they come up, and we'll share them with you. So we know what is really top of your mind in this crisis. Just a couple more seconds, and then we're going to wrap up the poll and share the results with you. All right. Okay. And Fabien, you've got the results already?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm having a look on Alia's computer. Well, obviously the first concern is the health issues with 44%. The second one is financial loss, 42%. Trouble with my loved ones, losing my job and my business come third and fourth with 36%. This is really the top four concerns that people have in mind in this crisis at the moment. The rest is way below. There is, of course, 34% of the unknown.
Right. Thank you very much, everyone, for playing the game. Thank you, Fabien, for sharing, in fact, right? So we've all got a lot of things going on in our mind and some negativity there, right? And yet we know as leaders and coaches, we need to clear our mind and be resilient. That means, in the first place, take good care of our health, of ourselves and our health holistically, so that then we can attend well to others and then lead and coach them. Of course, it's much easier to clear our mind when we take, say, good self-care, in fact. And I want to take this opportunity to share with you a few resources so you can take the best care of yourself and then attend to others effectively. The first one is actually a short video from the director of the World Health Organization. You can, when you receive the slide deck tomorrow, just click on that picture and play the video. You will see he recommends 5 simple things to do, we can all do, and one of them is exercise. And that's why we'll do every kind of 30 minutes, a little more, we'll take a moment to stretch ourselves, in fact. And I also thought of sharing with you 4 resources that I wrote over time about things you can do to really take the best care of your health holistically and your resilience, right? The first one you see on the left are 10 vital activities for you this year. Then you've also got a choice of healthy practices for your emotional well-being. All of them simple, easily implementable. 10 easy activities to enhance your inner peace and mindfulness. And then to the right side, you have the latest edition of my quarterly newsletter, which is a companion for the crisis with lots of helpful stuff. There again, when you get the PDF slide deck tomorrow, just click on them and enjoy what you can find useful out there. Yeah, and then I'd love to add one more resource for your consideration, and it's about helping you controlling your fears. Now, before we embark in the being and the doing of coaching in a crisis, I just want to check in with you and ask you what can be one thing you can start doing today to take better care of yourself and boost your resilience. So I really invite you to perhaps straighten your back, take a couple of breaths, and let that one thing come up to your mind. And you are most welcome to share it in the Q&A box, of course. I'll play a little music so you can relax and do that. Thank you very much for playing along with us. And now we're going to focus on coaching in crisis. And then,
Jean-Francois, can I just interrupt you? I just wanted to go through a few comments that were here. It looks like, it looks like working out, exercising, meditating, home sport exercise are really listening to music, 30 minutes jogging, meditating regularly. It looks like we have a lot of very good intention and actions actually.
Yeah, great. So good to see that. So I'm hearing a lot of intention to work out mindfulness and work out the body as well. And both are so great. Plus, very good for our immune system, of course, right? So we come to the point where we're going to coach across distance, and you may only fairly ask, can it work? Yes, coaching across distance works very well. First element of proof, a research from 9 years ago by the American Psychological Association, who did very serious and in-depth research and came out with the result that there is no significant difference between face-to-face and distance coaching conditions, and in particular in terms of quality of the outcome of the work, and that's really important to know. And the second element of proof I want to share is totally different. Actually, I was privileged the last week of January to be in Mexico City and meet Isabel and Pedro, who are awesome coaches and beautiful people. They really struck me by their ability to go to the core of my being. In fact, in such a short time, they belong to an organization that's called Coach con Vision. And that association is offering coaching across distance for a few years. Isabel and Pedro are very busy, very successful coaches, and they have this particularity to be blind, in fact. And I here want to send a big tribute to our colleagues around the world who are blind coaches for who they are and the awesome job they do. And of course, this is an additional proof that coaching across distance is working very, very well. So if you were in any doubt about the effectiveness of coaching across distance, then you should not be anymore. Yeah. And with this, we come to our mission for today, right? It's coaching against chaos. So the mission is to help our coaches and co-workers get, first of all, a cool and clear mind at all endeavor. And then, of course, support them to think at their best, get a sense of direction, design their way forward, and act decisively, and eventually build resilience. So I'd love to share with you 5 actions that I believe, and I've seen in my experience, are particularly helpful in a crisis context. Yeah, the first one is to center yourself and then connect with and center your coaching. And I'm going to come to how we do that in particular with a demo and a couple of videos. Right? Next, the objective. Of course, that's important in coaching. In this time of crisis, it's even more important to extract the gold from the rock, I like to say. And I really mean to dig into the core of the issue and find a valuable objective for the coachee and a sustainable outcome for the coachee and for the ecosystem around the coachee. Another action is to attend very effectively to all fears and emotions, energy shifts and needs that may manifest themselves in a coaching session. And then another action yet is to challenge. This is not a time to be nice. This is a time to help. And that we do in coaching with stretching towards clarity and decision making and accountability holding. And again, we're going to see practically how to do that in a crisis context. And the fifth action I recommend is to catalyze hope, which of course enables stronger resilience. And practically that is going to be something important to do at the end of a coaching session, in conclusion, if you will, ensuring that there is a compelling first step that the coachee will take and high energy. All right, and then the results, of course, will be clarity, forward movement, self-confidence, autonomy, and resilience. Now, it's really important before we go to the nitty-gritty of these actions you can take that we ensure we start a coaching session right. Because the success of a coaching session is pretty much defined by how valuable and sustainable the outcome of a session is, and that's defined at the get-go, right? How, in simpler terms, we start a coaching session really defines, sets it up for success or for failure, right? And I want to show you two short videos. One is showcasing a very bad start of a session. The next one is showing a better start of a session. And next, we're going to do a live demo with Alex and a manager overwhelmed with concerns in our current crisis concern, right? So first, I'd love that you tune your attention to spot the differences between the bad job of a start of a session and the better job of a start of a session. For our friends coaches on the webinar today, do not look for mastery. This is not a coaching course in coaching mastery, right? There is just a bad example and a better example. Now, please look at what bad looks like. Hey, good morning, Jade. How are you?
Morning, I'm good. How are you?
Good. Always happy to see you, Jade. And today we've got a short time, right? Like 30 minutes for our conversation. What would you like to talk about?
Talk about the designer bag that I'm going to get next.
Yeah, that's important to you?
Yeah, very.
Okay, good then. So then what would be a good outcome from our conversation today?
I'd like to make a choice in confidence.
Okay, good then. All right. So, hey, tell me more about designer bags. Right. So that's how very bad looks like. Now, here is how better look like. And again, my invitation is spot the differences, right? Hey, good morning, Jade. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm very well. How about you?
Good. I'm happy to see you, Jade. And as you know, we've got 30 minutes for our session in that confidential and safe space. That's ours in coaching. And I wanted to invite you to clear anything there may be in your mind so that you can become fully present to our work. Is that okay?
Sure. Could I take a couple deep breaths?
Please.
Okay, I'm fully here.
Great. Thank you, Jade. And I'm curious to know what you'd like to explore today in our conversation.
Well, actually, it's always been on my mind, and I just really having a hard time choosing the best designer bag for me.
Yeah. And sounds something important to you. What is important about that choice for you, Jade?
Actually, I don't really want the bag.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I prefer stock options instead.
Uh-huh. And what is this about? Perhaps at a deeper level, Jade?
Well, stock options would give me a long-term financial security. And I think it's because being a single mother, I just want to create a stable environment for my daughter.
Beautiful. Yeah. And if we go and make that objective about you, how could you perhaps be, or what could you do to ensure that financial security as a single mother that will make sure your daughter has the future that you wish he has?
Well, I think it all comes down to becoming a better professional at work so that I can be rewarded with good stock options.
And if we do good work, and I'm sure we will, Jade, then what would be a very valuable outcome from our work today for you?
Well, I think it would be to sharpen my interpersonal skills and management of my anxiety levels.
Thanks, Jade. Let's go for that, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Wow. Where would you like to start? Okay, so here we are with two very different outcomes from those two sessions that started with exactly the same wish to go for the designer bag, in fact, right? Outcome of introduction number one is gain a sense of making a right choice. Outcome number two is about sharpening interpersonal skills and manage anxiety levels, right? What was noticeably different amongst many things between the second session and the first one was that I took time in the second to center myself, came in well-paced, and then took time to really connect and invite my client to center herself. And then, of course, in the second session, I took time with my coachee to extract the gold from the rock, like I like to say, because, yeah, it's so important to go below the waterline versus tackling the tip of the iceberg, right? Dig deeper into the core of the issue to find a valuable objective for the coachee and a sustainable outcome for the coachee and the environment, right? Now, this is something that is even more important in crisis time, and we're going to demonstrate with Alex what it is really like to coach in crisis time. Just before that, we kind of 30 minutes into our call, we had promised you that we would respect the World Health Organization recommendation that every 30 minutes we stand up and we stretch ourselves. So that's my invitation to you. Please do stand up if you can safely and stretch yourselves while Alex and me are going to do a little demo, right? As we do, I invite you to capture the questions about what we're doing and the topic of starting a session in a crisis context. So listen to the questions that come to your mind, and you're most welcome to share them in the Q&A box, of course, and then we'll come to them shortly after the demo. The demo is going to be about 7-8 minutes, so a bit longer than video number 2. You'll see why. Not very long, but longer, all right? And here, I want to welcome Alex. Exercise. Alex, can you tell us perhaps who you are playing today?
Yes, so I'm going to be a manager in Crisis who's managing his remote team. It's very unusual for them because they're usually based in the office. So that's the context. I'll put my my glasses on to get in the mode, Clark Kent style. There you go. All changed.
Clark Kent style. Okay, shall I call you Clark then? No? No, no, too difficult. All right, so let's take 2-3 seconds and then we get this demo started, right? Hello, Alex. Good to see you. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. How are you? Okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. No, not really. How could I?
You can tell.
Situation. And Alex, I am thinking as we get our conversation going, how about you take perhaps a couple of deep breaths, you know, and just get in tune with your feeling and share about your feelings with me a little bit to get started.
Okay, all right. Well, actually, I mean, well, things are a bit of a mess really at the moment. It's not enough time in the day, and really the team, they're just not able to get the work done that I need them to do. It's almost like without me looking over their shoulder every day, they just won't do the work, and I've got no idea really. I mean, really what they're doing all day. I mean, you know, they're there, they're being paid to do the job. There's nothing different from in the office. So I really, you know, I really don't understand what they're doing all day.
Yeah. Wow. I say wow, Alex, because I'm hearing kind of a frustration, and maybe I'm wrong. You're going to correct me, right? If it's the case, right? I'm hearing a frustration there in your voice and even in your face, you know, that I've not heard before. Could that be?
Yes, yeah, for sure. 100% frustration is the word, and even a bit, you know, thinking about it now is making me a bit angry, you know.
Yeah, I see you banging the table now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Alex, may I invite you a second time, you know, to perhaps straighten your back and take a few more deep breaths to kind of perhaps clear your mind a little?
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for playing along, Alex. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I'm curious to know today, what is it that you most need from me and from our conversation?
Well, I feel like I probably need some advice and some tips on how I can motivate my team to do what I'm telling them to do. Yeah, some advice and some tips would be great, really around that motivation, if that's it. But, I mean, what do you think I should do?
Yeah, right. Thanks, Alex. And tell me more about what you'd really want to explore today.
I suppose simply it's just some ways that I can get them to do what's required from them, really. Yeah, I mean, really, I want them to know what my expectations are, and you know, for them to be able to do what they need to do on their own. You know.
And how is this important to you?
Well, I mean, we've got targets to hit, and my bosses are expecting the team to bring in some minimum numbers, and they're really quite reasonable. They've been adjusted, but we're not even doing that at the moment. So what happens is I end up doing 5 times my usual workload, chasing customers and making calls. But I'm not finishing till 10 p.m. because then I have my own work to do. So by the time I've got all my admin done, it's late. I'm working at home, and it's affecting personal life as well as work life. So,
Yeah, and as you say that, you know, the screen is shaking, right? And the frustration, I think, is back in your voice, right? Alex, and that's totally fine. This is a place, right, to express everything. So I thank you for sharing it with me. It's a privilege, really. But can I ask you a third time to perhaps, again,
Sure.
Stretch back, you know, and take a few breaths and think perhaps about what this situation you are describing is really about at a deeper level?
Well, in fact, it's more likely my inability to let go, actually. Maybe even to trust them. Might be more about me and my inability to trust others. Yeah, I think that comes from some fear. Maybe it's fear. Yeah, I mean, you know, fear of letting go and fear of trusting others.
Thanks for sharing that, Alex. And I'm thinking with all of what you've said, what could be a very valuable objective for our session today for you?
Well, I want to let go of my lack of trust, my lack of faith, and overcome my fears and let go of control, I suppose.
Yeah, there was some different kind of energy when you talk about overcoming your fears and letting go of control.
Sure.
It would be interesting to explore, right? But before we do that, it's important we set out to set a great, sustainable, valuable outcome for you and for the system around you. So if we do great work, what would be a really valuable and sustainable outcome for you and stakeholders around you?
Well, it'd be a big improvement if the team were able to work independently and I could still see some progress without me having to call them every 10 minutes. I mean, that would be a big, real big leap.
Thanks for sharing, Alex. Where would you like to start? And that's the end of the demo. Alex, you can please and have a good laugh. Thanks. Wow, it felt very real, very in sync with my so a number of experiences with the clients I'm coaching at the moment. Right, that fear of letting go. Really, the crisis is kind of forcing ourselves to ask ourselves as leaders and coaches deep question about our fabric as a leader, right? And as a person, in fact. And it's very healthy to muster the courage to find answers. And of course, coaching will help. So thanks, Alex, again. And thanks, everyone, for playing along with us. We're going to have our first Q&A in a couple of minutes. Just before that, I would like to share with you a bit about what I did with Alex in this session. So bear with me for just 2 minutes, a couple of practical things you can do, and then we're going to go in the first Q&A. So about the first point I made about the importance of centering yourself and then connecting with and centering your coachee. You could see me do that with Alex, and it took a lot more time, of course, than in a kind of a normal time session, such as the second video you watched before, right? I recommend that you do take time, whatever it takes, to genuinely inquire about how the coachee is feeling and bring out unmet human needs, anxieties, areas of confusion, or areas of health problems, in fact. Yeah, this needs to be all out on the table for the exploration, in fact. And if it takes a long time, it's all very healthy. because it avoids that all of that stays inside the body, the mind, the soul of the coachee. Yeah. And then, of course, you've got to clear your mind before a session, and you've got to ask your coachee to clear their mind from anything that may disturb their presence to the conversation. And you see, I had to do that 3 times with Alex because his frustration was coming again. So then we had to let the frustration out, understand what it was about, and then again go and clear the mind. Yeah, so not particularly smooth, but necessary. And I think also in a crisis time at the beginning of a session, it's really important to ask your coachee or your subordinates, if you are a manager using coaching skills, what do you most need from me and from our conversation today? That's a bit about mentoring and how to do it in practice, right? And then about extracting the gold from the rock. You could see with Alex the evolution from asking me tips to solve the issue at hand, all the way to actually the goal, which was confronting his fears of letting go, his wish letting go, and relinquishing his need to control and micromanage, right? A very common thing currently, right? Because, of course, our crisis is emphasizing that directive management is impossible, and if it's forced, it's terrible, right? Only empowerment is likely to bring out best outcomes for the work. Yeah, so to identify with the coachee what the real issue is at a deep level, it can help that you ask some of these questions. So you could see me ask, what would you like to explore today? And if the coachee brings a lot of stuff, then of course you've got to ask your coachee or your subordinate to prioritize, right? Perhaps by importance and or urgency. Yeah. And then, of course, it's really important to ask the coachee how is the topic he's bringing or she's bringing to the session important to them. So we gain some insurance that we're going to work on something valuable. And sometimes that question is not enough. In fact, we can get something even more valuable by going deeper, as I did with Alex, right? So the question can be at a deeper level, what is this really about? Or what needs to happen at a deeper level within you for strong, significant, sustainable progress to happen, right? Stronger question. Then, of course, you've got to ask a very valuable objective session and then a great sustainable outcome for the session and for the coachee and the environment. Yeah. Now, sometimes, especially in crisis, coaches will come with a negatively worded objective, and that's not going to cut it, right? We need a positively worded objective. So perhaps they will express what they don't want, and then you've got to invite your coachee to rephrase that in terms of what they want. So perhaps they'll bring an objective from a scarcity mindset, and you can invite them to change hat and put on the hat of abundance, and then rephrase the objective from a perspective of abundance, right? Or shift from control to let go. Yeah? Very important for the dynamic and of the session and the quality of the exploration. One more thing to check, of course, is that the objective is focused on the person, not the problem, because we are in coaching in the business of helping people accelerate their growth, so the development of their maturity, their resilience, right? And it's about them much more than the problem of the day. Yeah, and then eventually, of course, you've got to ensure the objective is actionable, right? And within the coachee's span of control. And just a moment of fun before we go to our Q&A, and please prepare your questions if you didn't yet. Another Facebook post I've seen recently that brought a smile on my face it's for children, actually. It's a drawing by Carrie Stevens, and she presents what I can control. For example, my attitude, turning off the news, my own social distancing, my kindness and grace, right? And what I cannot control, such as the amount of toilet paper at the store, or how long this crisis will last, or how others react to it, or predicting what will, what will happen, right? So let's keep that in mind. We need to work on what's in the coach's area of control, of course. Yeah. Now, this is our time to converse together, particularly about those first two actions I've recommended to you that are particularly helpful at the beginning of a coaching session. And there I invite perhaps Fabien to take a look at the Q&A box and let me know and let Alex know what's coming up.
Yes, Jean-Francois, a few questions already. I just give a bit of time for people to fill it up.
Yeah.
So there's one that came already 2 times. What is a practical solution, like the manager with Alex, the crisis of this manager? What could be a practical solution in the demo you just did?
Okay, well, maybe I could give some ideas here. I mean, that demo that we did, that came from some real life experiences, actually, with some of the managers that I'm coaching right now. And in fact, it comes back a little bit to what Jean-Francois just showed us around being able to let go, of being able to, what we can control, sorry. So it was really, how can we take back some control? So in fact, what they're doing is they're practicing more true delegation. So without giving too many instructions or restrictions. And they do this by starting off with something really small and manageable. It's something in their control, right? They can't control the fact they're working remotely, but they can control that. So they start off with something small. So they start to feel and build up a bit more confidence with trusting their team and trusting others. So for example, something small and less risky that many people are starting with, it's also quite practical, is that they let go by giving their team the chance to come up with their own ways of working together remotely. So what rules and best practices do they follow as a team? And the results are always consistently one of surprise. You know, the managers that I'm coaching, they're always surprised of the great ideas they get from their team, the level of maturity, without them having to always be taking control of that situation. So that's something very simple and practical that you can start with to build up that confidence of trusting more.
Okay, thanks, Alex. I went through the question. Another question which is asked a few times. Donna, for example, is talking about something around how do you coach managers who are not willing to open up and be coached, so they don't think they have an issue in this situation? Jean-Francois, if you want to unmute Jean-Francois.
I think it's important as a coach when that happens that I build psychological safety with that type of manager, in fact, right? They've got to understand that coaching is a safe space for confidential conversations, that the coach suspends judgment, therefore they can share whatever comes to their mind, whether it makes sense or not, whether it's relevant or not, it's smart or not, it's right or wrong. Every thought, every emotion, every expression of something are welcome. And then what can a coach or a manager using coaching do to help this happen? I'd say be authentic, be humble, and be vulnerable. Be vulnerable meaning saying when you don't have a clue what to ask, when you're lost, when you don't understand, when you need help from the coachee to progress further, right? And showcasing those attributes of authenticity, humility, and vulnerability will give, of course, permission to the coachee to do the same and then to act as who they are, and also to drop their guard. Then the dance of coaching can happen. A second advice would be, once the dance has started, right? So the manager who was unwilling to be open and to be coached has started to drop the armor, then stretch them step by step, not with strong questions first, right? Perhaps a soft question, such as what could be 2 or 3 areas of your leadership that you'd wish to take to the next level over the coming months, in order to perhaps unleash even more from your team, or get to the next level, right? So very, very easygoing questions like that, but still a stretch. Make sense?
Well, I think it does. Maybe last one for this section before we carry on with more of the great tips that you have. It comes, maybe this is coming from some coaches that are with us at the moment. The importance of positive reinforcement in a context which is very negative or threatening.
Thanks for the question. And I think, well, in a crisis, people's mental and physical energy are quickly drained, yeah? And of course, positive reinforcement, praise, recognition, refill their energy, yeah? Big time, and boost their confidence. Now, face-to-face positive reinforcement or acknowledgement, right, is very effective. Now, remote positive reinforcement is a bit less, still works. So the conclusion is do more of it for 2 reasons, right? Your people will need more of it because their energy is drained more quickly in crisis, and 2, you are in a distance, you are remote from them, and then the impact of your acknowledgement or praise or recognition is a bit lesser. Don't forget that, of course, it needs to be sincere and timely and specific. Do more of it. Okay, thank you, Jean-Francois. I think it's 5 to 10, maybe our time. Maybe you can move forward. Yeah, thanks very much. What I'd love to share with you, as I'm going to tackle the next action I recommend coaches and managers using coaching skills do in crisis. I'd like to introduce this with the example a couple of days ago of a coaching session with a founder and CEO of a very successful startup until the COVID crisis. A startup that already operates in quite a few countries, and that is very well admired. Now, everything was going well until the crisis, and then everything started to go seriously south. In fact, the supply chain is crippled. A number of accounts receivables are become bad debts. One managing director of a very critical country has just resigned. The revenues have dropped by 60%. And then, very importantly, too, investors do not want to give emergency fund. There's not enough cash to pay staff 3 months down the road, in fact. So can you imagine the number of fears and concerns and emotions in my client's mind? And my question to you is, how would you attend to his fears, his emotions, his energy, his needs, in fact, right? And my invitation is to watch a short video from a movie called Ray about the eponymous famous jazz musician, Ray Charles. And that's a musician who became blind when he was about 7 years of age. He's the author of Georgia on My Mind, and I want to invite you to watch how his mother attends to his needs and his fears and emotions when he's confronted at his young age with the problems of losing eyesight. So, yes, that's Ray Charles, the author.
Georgia, Georgia, the whole day through.
And now you are in the mood. Let's go and see that extract of the movie. Ray, please pay attention to how the mother is attending to the kids' fears, emotions, and needs.
Ow! Mama! Mama, help! Mama, help! Mama, help, please! I need you! Mama, help! Mama!
I'm good now. Come on.
I hear you too, Mama. You're right there.
Yes, I am.
Why are you crying, Mama?
'Cause I'm happy.
And a big tribute to the mother of that gorgeous little kid for really embodying a great handling of emotions and fears and needs, right? And as well, Stretch, in fact. She really showcased her trust in the ability of the young boy to grow from the hardship. And she avoided to be a mother. Instead, she was more in kind of a adult-to-adult relationship, particularly a coach and coachee relationship, right? And then the little kid, of course, got ahead, developed confidence, new ways of doing, and more importantly for the future, the beginning of a new way of being. So now just a few practical tips before we talk about stretching our clients in a crisis mode. Of course, it's so important to listen for those emotions, those needs, those fears, right? And listen to them and ask for them if they do not show up, like I did with Alex, right? And the question if the coachee is not really opening up yet could be, would it be useful to identify your current fears and perhaps find out which of them you might be able to do something about, right? Now, something else is useful is to ask when a fear or an emotion is expressed, what message they carry for the coachee. Yeah, it's also really important to detect some energy shifts, as I did actually with Alex earlier on. I did not explode them. That would be for the core of the session, right? Which we didn't do, right? But then question them when they happen, because they connect to a deeper part of the person you're coaching as a manager or as a coach. Yeah. When your coachee's thinking is stuck, now that can happen even more in a crisis, right? Like cognitive overwhelm, right? So I suggest simple things. Just invite the coachee to think, like to breathe, right? Straighten their back and breathe, like I did 3 times with Alex, or just stand up and walk a few steps in order to get new ideas or perspective. And by the way, this is, we are an hour into our session. We've got 30 minutes to go. It's that time when the director of the WHO said, time to stretch and stand up and stretch, right? And you might get new ideas as you do so. Never fails to happen, right? And finally, 2 things. Ask, what do you most need? Or what needs what needs to happen for you to overcome? So that's a deeper question. An easier version is, what would be most helpful for you right now? Yeah. And lastly, of course, empathize with your coachee, but stay detached, right? It's like, if you want to help someone drowning in the sea near the beach and you are on the beach, it's not cool to go and swim and help the guy, because you might drown together, right? It's much more helpful to run, catch the safety buoy, throw it to the person drowning, and then drag it back on safe shore. Drag that person back on safe shore, right? That's what we do in coaching. We empathize, but we stay detached enough so that we can be a solid thinking partner to the coachee. Now to the challenge and the stretch towards clarity, decisions, and accountability. So the mother of Ray in the movie showcased a real good sound stretched. In coaching, I'd say very much like a personal trainer would do. We need, when we coach our subordinates or our clients, we need to stretch them, right? And in crisis time, it may be wise to ask permission to do that, right? Then we just ask, may I stretch you there? Or may I stretch you one more notch here, of course. It's also important to demand decisions, right? Decisions must be made, small, if no big one can be, but decisions must be made, right? You've got to insist for that. And of course, accountability must be established, in fact. So you can ask, how will you keep yourself accountable in this high pressure, ever changing or fast changing environment? And also, who can you choose as your accountability partner? Yeah. And with this, I want to talk with you about the 5th action I recommended. You remember, it's about catalyzing hope, particularly at the end of a session. And so here we're going to do something fun. Just before we go to a second Q&A, we're going to play like we would have had a session together, and I would ask you a series of questions, right? And you would answer. And I want you to check what that makes happen in your mind and your energy level. And are your feelings of hope that things and you will get better or not, right? So let's try it out for real, just as if I were coaching you. And my first question to you is, having gone through our conversation today so far for about an hour, right? And having in mind your well-being, your growth in that very challenging context of the crisis, if you could take only one step to get to a better situation, to feel better or to grow more? Which step would be the most valuable for you? Which short-term benefits would you enjoy? Now that you have that first step in mind, when will you take that first step? Next, I'm really curious to know, I wish I could know what you've learned today that is the most important for you. And also what you've learned today about you that is most important to you. And ever curious, I'd love to also hear from you how you see yourself growing as a leader in this crisis. And I also want, in this crisis time, particularly to ask you 3 things you will do to improve your self-care and your resilience over the next few weeks. And then I'd love to share with you how inspired I have been by your contribution to the Q&A box, right? Because I can't say much more, right? But your presence, your attention, your sacrifice for taking time to be with us for a rather long session. Thank you for that. It's inspiring to us. We mean to help, and we are only too grateful when people are precious and humble us with joining in. So thank you for that. And of course, I'd love to learn from you how I could help you better, how I could serve you better next time. Right? So that's really questions you may ask at the end of a coaching conversation, whether you are a manager or a coach, right? And check with yourself how they made you feel, what were the benefits for you, for your mind, and if it catalyzed some hope that you will shortly get better and clarify your next steps, then that's all good. One more thing, just take time to decide which first action you're going to take tomorrow to enhance further your coaching effectiveness, of course. And now we're going to come to our second Q&A. That is going to be focused on coaching in crisis, of course, and some of the actions that I've talked about, and anything else that's weighing on your mind that you wish for some perspective about, right? And then, of course, we've got about 25 minutes. We have 25 minutes to go together. We'll have a quick presentation of the masterclass. We're proposing just a couple of minutes. And then I'll share with you 5 pitfalls, which are mistakes that you may be making that you want to be aware of and avoid, in fact, and especially in crisis times. We'll have a quick poll about the most damaging pitfalls or mistakes that we can do when we coach in crisis time. And then I've prepared 7 gifts for you. I mean, humble gifts, little gifts, right, for your growth and your well-being. So I hope you can tag along. Fabien, can we see what's up in the Q&A box and answer questions as much as we can?
Yes, thank you, Jean-Francois. Maybe we can rest your voice for 2 minutes. So a question, first one for Alex. I read the question from the participant. How is something we haven't talked about much yet. How would you suggest team coaching could be carried out when participants are attending sessions remotely?
Okay, well, it's a great question, as it's extremely relevant right now, right? As all my training and coaching is remote, obviously. In fact, what we found is that group coaching and group training remotely can be extremely effective. We've had quite significant impacts with small group sizes of just 5 or 6 people, right up to 30 people in a group, and we're still able to maintain interaction, practice, discussions, demos, even role plays, things you would expect in a real life face-to-face environment. It's really important actually that everyone is in front of their own screen, so no screen sharing, which in most countries wouldn't be possible anyway at the moment, though there are still some. And this just means everyone is on a level playing field, and you can address people as individuals. It makes it, for sure there needs to be more structure, but it makes it much more, much simpler to keep track of and give everyone the benefit. Make sure you include or give times for short breaks, just like you would in a normal training, to manage the energy and the attention, or in a group coaching. And also to include some pre-preparation to maximize the time that you're together. And we can segment a one-day training or a half-day group coaching into a series of 2-hour type modules that can be done remotely, spread over a number of days or weeks. So it allows time in between to have some reflection, conduct some assignments, or have some practice. So it can be a highly effective solution right now and actually bring some unexpected, surprising benefit.
Right, thank you, Alex. Another question actually that was, which is coming back, and I was already asked before we started, from somebody from Singapore. How do we build, for you, Jean-Francois, how do we build a coaching culture in a virtual environment when the manager-employee trust is already low to begin with? Alia, if you may unmute Jean-Francois. Thank you.
Let me be blunt. Maybe that's why Alia muted me. Let me be blunt. We do not build a coaching culture when there is no trust between employees and managers in the workplace. What we do is build that trust, right? First, because coaching cannot work in a place of distrust. Yeah, that's no point in trying, let's be clear, right? So first things first, build trust. And if the manager has done some things to employees and vice versa that have breached or destroyed the trust between them, then they've got to work out how they're going to repair that trust bond, right? Acknowledge the mistakes of the past, apologize to them, and then decide to start from a clear sheet and decide together how they're going to, first of all, repair the trust, build the trust. And once that's done, then, of course, they can start building a coaching culture. And this moment is fantastic to do that, right? Because it's a moment where there is no choice else than empower remote people, remote co-workers, right? And coaching helps raise the effectiveness of empowerment big time. So great context for a building coaching culture, but not when there is no trust in the workplace. Make sense, Fabien?
Makes sense. Thank you very much, Jean-Francois. We will come back to Jean-Francois in a few minutes, where I will share 5 pitfalls to avoid and avoid mistakes you make without knowing. We've seen how coaching and coaching skills are extremely valuable at the moment. And we've seen that coaching skills can be learned. As we said at the start, the masterclass comes at a time where it's hope and opportunities from change. I was looking at some of the questions that were asked by everyone, like how to overcome a resistant coachee, how to balance empathy, and listening skills and so on. All these answers are actually very much covered during the in our masterclass. We'll give you a quick preview of Jean-Francois' upcoming coach masterclass in this video and take your questions afterwards.
What is coaching? Let me start with a story.
Would you like to be trained by one of the best coaches in the world? Would you like to bring out the best in others, improve performance, leadership skills, and behavior to motivate and inspire, and become a more effective leader yourself? Timeo Performance has built the most effective learning experience you can imagine, and for the first time gives you access to the training expertise, insights, demonstrations, practical tips, and exclusive content from renowned global executive coach and trainer, Mr. Jean-Francois Cousin, a master certified coach, global speaker, internationally published author, and the 2019 chairman of the Global Board of the International Coach Federation. For the very first time, Jean-Francois Cousin is now ready to share his secrets from over 10,000 plus hours of coaching experience with the world.
I believe that there is a great coach within you, and I make it my mission to help you unleash it and at the same time become an even better leader. The insights, practical tips and tools that I've gathered over my more than 10,000 coaching hours experience will help you unleash the great coach within you. I will use a variety of pedagogical approaches. I will emphasize learning by doing, so you can rest assured that the more you involve yourself in this masterclass, the better the coach you will become and the more positive the difference you will make in your life and that of others. A warm welcome to my masterclass.
Take the decision right now to make a positive difference in your life and career by enrolling in this unique 100% online masterclass. Benefit from Jean-Francois's wise insights, demonstrations, and the many practical tips and templates that he will share with you, and unleash the great coach within.
Well, as you've just seen in the video, this masterclass is a fantastic way to learn and reinforce the coaching skills you need from the best, whilst fitting into your schedule as it's 100% remote. In fact, many of the questions we've had today, as Fabien mentioned, that we haven't had the time to answer are addressed in this masterclass. For example, around powerful questioning, how to handle resistant coachees, creating a sense of confidence. The masterclass itself is focused on an immersive and hands-on kind of social learning across 7 weeks. And as each week passes, new content is unlocked as you progress, like practical tips on how to coach like a master coach, and coaching templates for you to download and keep. There are also 3 live interactive classroom sessions with Jean-Francois and with your fellow classmates as well. They're scheduled to accommodate the different global time zones that you're all in. Plus, you'll have a team of dedicated professional coaches to support you along the way, including Jean-Francois, Fabienne, and myself. And the program is an ICF approved program, so it will grant you 8 CCE units. That's the continuing education units from the ICF, and they can be put towards your ICF coaching credentials. Now, this all takes place within a gamified and social environment, so you can interact, share, and network with your fellow classmates through a variety of assignments, learning activities that you'll experience in each step throughout the 7-week journey. And just to add, at the moment, there's a special early bird promotional price of $788 US. That special price is active just for another week, just to let you know.
Thank you, Alex. We got some questions already. One is the masterclass mainly for coaches or for managers, leaders?
Well, I mean, the masterclass, it focuses on skills, methods, and processes. So these can be applied to any situation. So as we saw earlier, coaching skills for managers are highly valued in companies because they make a difference to leadership performance and the effectiveness of people managers to manage, grow, develop, and motivate their staff. So certainly it can be just as valuable for managers as it can be for coaches.
Okay. Another question, as it's shown on the screen, you talk about interactive classroom sessions versus webinars. What is the difference?
Well, I mean, a live classroom session is fully interactive. So there's full kind of interaction between Jean-Francois. There's discussion, so it's not a seminar style top-down knowledge sharing like a webinar. So we'd be using video with Jean-Francois and myself. You can have discussions, live questions, demos, role plays, just like a classroom type training in real life.
So for everyone, if you are interested to know more about the masterclass, please just type your full name in the Q&A box. It's anonymous, so only we can see it and we'll get in touch with you. If you have any more questions, you can find the answers in the FAQ on our website, timeo-performance.com/masterclass, where you registered for the webinar. Now, Jean-Francois, we'll finish off with some valuable final gifts. And we will conclude the session. Alia, if you want to mute Jean-Francois.
Yeah. Hey, right. Thank you very much, Alia. Yeah. As I'm going to talk about the pitfalls, to make sure you don't fall. No, I'm joking. But Joe, please stand up and stretch yourself. Right, it's that time again. And so here we go. I first of all want to say that we've made a recording of another webinar a few months ago, particularly focused on those 5 pitfalls and 6 must-dos, we call them, like good practices, and also 7 rewards from doing the right things in coaching as a manager and as a leader. So, of course, our invitation, when you receive the slide deck tomorrow or Saturday latest, is to click on that picture on your computer. You'll go to YouTube where you can watch the webinar, right? Now, what I'm going to share with you is, in a nutshell, 5 pitfalls, right? The first one is giving advice. And that pitfall is even more likely to happen in a crisis time because perhaps we feel our coachee or our subordinate is disempowered, distraught, in a miserable state, right? And so our good heart or our ego actually prompt us to give advice, right? We feel good, we feel we're generous, we feel smart when we give advice, but then of course no 2 brains are alike. And giving advice is overrated, it's not gonna work, right? Telling is overrating. Asking, coaching is a lot more helpful. First pitfall, giving advice, no good, especially in crisis time in general terms, right? The second pitfall is about staying in the comfort zone because simply growth happens outside of the comfort zone, as my good friend Maria Reynolds has said and written a book about. Yeah. So pitfall number 3, staying at the surface of the issue. It's like discussing with the coachee just the top of the iceberg because it would be too stressful to dig below the waterline. No, that's not good. It's worse than a waste of time, actually. It sends a signal that you are not caring, right? It's like sipping tea when there's fire out there, right? And then pitfall number 4 is searching for the solution in your mind. Right, that's not what really helps. We have to catalyze the best thinking of people in coaching, right? And that cannot happen if you're not fully present to them. It's not an easy task. It's not so easy to coach. After all, right? It requires skills and, very importantly, requires absolute presence. So do not think for a solution in your mind. It's very unlikely that it would really help the coachee anyway. Because you are less in tune with their environments, their internal struggles, but they are in a better place, given the time and the thinking stretch to find the best solution. Pitfall number 5 is helping out too soon, just like a trainer at the gym would tell you when you whine that you've already done 10 or 20 push-ups or abs, and you say, well, that's enough for today. And he would say, yes, well, no, that's not why we pay the guy, right? We don't want the guy to help out too soon. That's the same in coaching, okay? And at this time, can we take just 2 minutes of your time to 1 minute actually, to invite you to do our last poll. And that's to ask you, in your experience as a manager, as a coach, or a HR professional, which pitfalls are even more damaging in crisis? So make your choice, please, between those 5 pitfalls. We just take 10 seconds because we are mindful of your time. We want to finish right at the half hour. All right, we're going to wrap up in 3, 2, 1 second, and now. Right, and so then I'm going to go on, and Fabien, as soon as the results show up, if you can jump in and very, very briefly give us the percentages, right?
Yes.
With this, I want to go into sharing some gifts we've prepared together for you, right? So the first one is just this one pager. That's a very simple reminder of the 5 actions with the acronym COACH that I've presented to you with the advice that you try them out in a crisis, right? And you flex the muscles you develop as you do that as a coach, and you also have on that same slide the 5 pitfalls. Then again, you've got access on YouTube to the webinar we offered that dived into those 5 pitfalls and 6 must-dos. We think it's worth your while, we hope at least. Yeah, and then of course in crisis, it's really important to catalyze the best kind of energy in people, and that amounts to motivating them, right? And so some years ago, I put together a presentation that's recorded in a video on YouTube as well, presenting 10 simple actions that you can take as a leader to motivate your people at 0 cost. When you have a short hour to kill, I invite you to go and have a look, and you may choose 1 or 2 of those 10 simple actions that have no cost, but the highest boost on your people's motivation. It matters in crisis time. Another very interesting watch, and much shorter, is from the CEO of the Marriott International Group, Mr. Arne Sorensen. Just a fantastic act of great leadership. It's 5 minutes. You just click on that picture on the BTF slide deck you'll receive, and I think you'll be happy about what you see. Yeah. One more gift is about how to handle signs of lack of self-leadership, either in yourself and in others. Just download that piece I wrote about that. I hope you can find it useful. And also I wanted to share for our HR colleague, human resources colleague here in L&D, talent development, OD, the very latest piece of Dave Ulrich on the HR's role during a global crisis, right? He wrote that piece just like 6 days ago, and of course, as always, it's very insightful. Yeah. Now, the last and very important document for coaches who are with us today, right, is a special web page from the International Coaching Federation that is putting together really helpful resources for coaches, in fact, for their business, for their client, to really do the very best and be the very best and contribute the most in this crisis. That page is updated daily, so I invite you to check it out. Now, the last step of a coaching session I recommended before is to catalyze hope. And I really want you to keep in mind, as Alex alluded to earlier on, that in this crisis, many beautiful, good things happen, in fact. The crisis is unleashing amazing generosity and selfless dedication to helping others from hundreds of millions of people around the world. And as Nelson Mandela famously put it, like, man's goodness is a flame that cannot be hidden, and can be hidden but never extinguished, in fact, right? And he said as well that as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give permission to other people to do the same, yeah? And that is why this crisis is triggering more and more. And that is also what coaching is all about. Because at its core, coaching is an act of unconditional love. And it's no surprise that Eric Schmidt, the former CEO and chairman of Google and Alphabet, the parent company, has dedicated one of the 6 chapters of his book on his coach, Bill Campbell, on the power of love, as he talked about the impact of coaching and managers coaching in the Silicon Valley. Yeah, the mission of coaching at its core is to awaken potential and consciousness, to awaken human potential and consciousness. We've done a great job worldwide to unleash more of human potential with the people we serve as coaches and managers coached when they coach their subordinates. We invite you, as we've got a lot more to do, and in particular on the consciousness side, to join the mission, take your skills to the next level. It's that time in history where it matters so much, right? So here's to wishing you happiness and fulfillment as you take your coaching skills to the next level and become an even better leader or person for that matter, and an even better HR professional and an even better coach, right? So always take the best care of yourself so you can also take the best care of others. Nurture your happiness by being mindful, connecting with others, and practicing gratitude.